invested in Calvert, it was on the perception that Calvert was underinvested. The day school didn't have the money to invest in curriculum, didn't have the best money to invest in, frankly, the kind of management team that Steve's put together, and that we were on the cusp of a nation of digital natives, and we were on the cusp of a world of digital natives, and we were on the cusp of kids that were used to communicating and learning in a virtual environment, and that Calvert had the capability to transform itself and play in that arena. They'd already done that a little bit with the private paid homeschool business. We knew a lot about the virtual charter business, but that there was a tremendous opportunity to take Calvert, take a great brand, bring a great management team to it, and capture and really ride that wave of online learning. And it's taken us a little bit longer than we thought. I think that the transition from being a private pay mentality to a public pay mentality is something that Steve's done a great job of really addressing, primarily by bringing in a team of really superb people that have experience at a whole host of other successful companies. But I really feel like we are at the forefront of a tremendous wave in the way young people want to learn.
I mean, that's well said. I totally agree. And you know, look, the other motivating factor, I'm sure, David, is that you're investing in a growth market. Yeah. You know, I mean, this is a someone showed me a piece of data yesterday that K through 8 in what's called non-managed virtual schools, so a segment of the virtual schools that aren't run by K-12 and Connections, is growing between 30 and 40%. That's huge. So, you know, we're I think cracking the code to figure out how to access that and get our disproportionate share of it.
One of the other wake-up calls for me was that, you know, as the co-chairman of this charter school in West Baltimore, in one of the most impoverished areas of West Baltimore, where 96% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch, which means they live below the poverty line. We did a little bit of a survey, and yeah, 96% of our kids live below the poverty line, but 90% of them come to school every day with a smartphone. Now, it's not an iPhone 10, but it's the iPhone that I was dying to have 5 years ago, and it's connected to the internet. And so whether you are an affluent kid going to Gilman or whether you are in West Baltimore, you are a digital native. And the old instructor-led mode of teaching is increasingly outmoded. And Calvert is right on the cusp of that, regardless of where you are.
I agree. And you know, in a way, what Calvert and Green Street have in common is that both organizations are helping kids who have challenges. Yeah. And, you know, Green Street, they're in a tough area, you know, like you've described. But oftentimes, David, the families, the kids who are in virtual schools, they're there because they have to be. It's a last resort. I think of it often as 1/3 of the kids in virtual schools are playing offense and 2/3 are playing defense. And you know, we got to be there for them, not only as our company, but as a society. And you know, we're working hard to make sure that the Calvert education works for that population, works for those schools that serve that population, and it's a challenge. But man, if we make a major contribution to cracking that code, that's a sustainable contribution that really matters.
Well, the other thing is that I think people are increasingly comfortable with virtual communities. I mean, you think Facebook is the ultimate virtual community, right? But, you know, one of the things that we're seeing at Calvert is that we are creating a global virtual community through our students. So they may be working on projects together all around the world. That's fascinated to see those kids who came to our graduation in Baltimore from all those different countries. They already knew each other because they'd been communicating and working together in the course of getting their Calvert education. So one of the things that I think we've got to be thinking really hard about, it is a great opportunity, is how do we maximize the impact and the potential of the global community that is the Calvert user, whether they're in a public pay environment like Green Street Academy, whether a private pay family in Saudi Arabia because their dad's transferred there for 2 years, or whether they're a kid in a public school like Beijing Lamai or the new one that we got in Angola, right? Those are all kids of roughly the same age that are learning the same skills, who are all digital natives, who want to communicate with each other. And there's not very many entities that allow them to do that in an education setting.
Totally agree. I mean, I think it's a really big idea that you're talking about, and so part of it is, how do you connect them generally, but then even better is, how do you connect them in context, like you were saying. So how do you connect them, and so we've built this new curriculum and platform, and a big part of it is the collaboration features that are part of that. Now that's not in and of itself going to drive that sort of community that you're talking about. It takes a lot more work to get that going, but it's the beginning. It needs that. It's necessary but not sufficient. But I think if we can really make progress on that front, boy, that is just takes what we're about and turns that into such an advantage for the families, for the schools, and for Calvert. I couldn't be more excited about that.
And for Baltimore.
And for Baltimore.
We are very proud to be a Baltimore institution and have, tens of employees that live and work in and around this city. So, we don't forget our roots.
Totally. I mean, Baltimore is a huge part of the Calvert equation. Very important. And it's known as a Baltimore company. That's part of its gestalt. And when international schools want to learn more about Calvert, they insist on coming to Baltimore. And that's a regular stream of visitors here, and they come away impressed, and it's just it's something we're really proud of.
Steve, it's been a great privilege and a lot of fun working together over the course of the last 3 years, and I think that under your guidance, I think Calvert is, honestly, I think it's just getting started.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, David.